Welcome to another Founder Wisdom Pod. We have Arnobio Morelix with us today. Arno is a co-founder and CEO at Sirius Education. He's an expert on economic progress, innovation, and future of digital society and economy at World Economic Forum. Professor at various places, at advisory board at various companies as well. Been featured in Inc. magazine and yet contributing data science expert at Stanford University. So quite the special profile that he has here. So I'm eager to dive into everything that he's built in the last couple of years. This podcast presented by bookwritegpt.com. Bookwrite is a place where you can write your AI book, all your LinkedIn posts and so forth with AI. So go to bookwritegpt.com. Arno, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for having me today, Charles. Super excited for our conversation. So really the big thing I'm building today is Sirius Education. So it's Sirius like this, or how you can see there under my name, it's the brightest star in the night sky. That was our inspiration for the name. And what we're doing at Sirius is really higher education for the AI age. So we're fully fledged accredited college here in Brazil, where I'm calling from today. That's where I'm from originally. And what we do is we work with the best online schools, the best experts to launch joint co-branded master's, MBA, and college programs. And what we really figured out was, and some of this comes from a number, which is 65%. 65% of young people today are going to work at a job that doesn't even exist yet. And when you look at traditional universities, people are coming out of them underemployed, disengaged, and often in debt. So what we decided was we're going to create a new kind of university. We're going to build from scratch, which is what we're doing. And then instead of trying to do everything from an ivory tower, we're going to find the best experts in the marketing industries and launch those programs together. And then before starting this company, Sirius, I used to work as an executive and data scientist in Silicon Valley, doing some of the stuff you mentioned. So I worked as chief data scientist at Inc. magazine, the entrepreneurship publication, worked as a CIO at a company called Startup Genome, leading PhDs, data scientists, researchers, and always really closely connected to education, research, higher education, published research at Stanford, published this book called Rebooted, which is a bestseller in the US, 6 other countries. And now I'm back in Brazil, home country, after 12 years in the US.
And is that your main audience with Sirius right now, Brazil?
That's right. So we're Brazil first, and really we see this as developing markets everywhere. When you look at our model, our big focus is looking at places, countries that have low quality of traditional education. So like the traditional higher education institutions are not doing a very good job for employment outcomes, for student satisfaction. And at the same time, we look at places where people are used to learning online. They're used to learning from social media. They have people, experts they admire that they follow on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. So we look at those two things, places where people are used to learning online and places with low quality of traditional higher education. When you look at those two metrics, Brazil is close to the top. It's the fourth largest higher education market in the world. It's top 1, 2, or 3 for, depending on the metrics you use, for using internet and social media for independent learning. So it's one of the countries that spend the most hours each day online, over 9 hours per day. It's one of the countries that people most follow someone they admire on social media as an expert. So that's why we started with Brazil first. But really, this is a global opportunity. So there's a lot of countries that fit that profile I just described. We think Brazil is ground zero for this phenomenon of creators inside higher education.
Right. And is MBA still a thing? Isn't the best way to learn nowadays is to straight up go on ChatGPT and build an app, vibe codes it to life and bring it to market?
Look, the best way to learn obviously varies for each person. But what the thing we've built here is bringing the best of both worlds. So bringing the best of independent learning, the best of what you can do by yourself online with ChatGPT, with combined with what's best about higher education. And we looked at this extensively. And the people say like, oh, maybe you don't need a college degree these days. Google has been saying this since about 2013. And people ask me, so why are you doing a university if these big companies are saying this? And I ask them, do you know what percentage of Google employees do not have a higher education degree? Do you have a guess, Charles?
It's very low. They all have university education.
They all have university education. It's like 93.5% of Google employees have university education, 94% at Facebook, 96% at Microsoft. This is data from Zipia, which is like a HR kind of jobs data set. So the reality is, there's a big discourse about you don't need higher education, but when you look in practice, you see HR is using higher education as a filter. You see middle-class customers, especially in places like Brazil, in developing economies that still value higher education as a marker of arriving in society. And then you see big salary differences. So in Brazil specifically, people that have college degrees have much higher incomes, and people that have postgraduate degrees, so masters, MBAs versus just the college degrees. So the difference between just college versus MBA postgraduate degree is 120% higher salary. So really in practice, yes, there's a lot you can learn without traditional higher education. And that's part of the wave we're riding, because, imagine like you could have the Charles Cormier MBA. Like that's basically the setup here of what we do. And so we bring the best of both worlds, the best of traditional higher education, which those career kind of salary benefits, with the best of, learning online, learning from people that are in the industry.
Yeah, I don't think HR will be around for long when agents arrive. HR is widely known for bullshit. I do understand why they would filter with university degree. I mean, that sort of makes sense in a normal traditional world. But I think with AI, everything's going to super accelerate. And yeah, degrees, not so much. Me, what I've started, it's called couni.com. It's a school for kids that start at 7, right? And we teach them entrepreneurship. We teach you launch from day one, because like parents force them to take tests, while they could just be launching a startup. And the real test is ultimately the market buying from you. What do you think about that?
Look, we believe in all of that, but our answer is, instead of doing that, you probably the same diagnostics you have about traditional higher education, I probably share all or most of it. Like, it's too theoretical. It doesn't teach you hands-on skills. It's focused on testing, not on delivering actual results. It's too expensive. Does that ring a bell? Like, is that usually how you see traditional higher education?
Yeah, my program is pretty expensive too. It's $50K per seminar, like per student, right? But we promise ROI. So like if you don't bring that $50K in one semester, which is pretty ambitious, but yeah, that is exactly the quote unquote stigma. I think it's done a good job, but it's a system that hasn't been upgraded in 200 years.
Exactly. Yeah. So like the typical setup for higher education today comes from the old industrial revolution, and there's a great thing you can look at to really understand that point. And if you want to understand that, you can look at the founding documents for an MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. And when the university was being started in Massachusetts, you read what they're talking about. They say, we're living a new industrial revolution now. We need a place for people to learn the new industrial arts, and MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, is going to be that. And if you look at their logo or their shield, it's a ironsmith, so like a dude holding a hammer with a dude holding a book. And that's that was revolutionary for the time. You're not talking about philosophy, you're not talking about theology, you're talking about, let's make some steel, let's build some trains. And that was dramatically different. And that was when MIT started. We think we're living an industrial revolution today, and 2023 is really I think the most exciting year for starting a university, which is when we started 2 years ago. probably the second most exciting time was when MIT got started. And like we're building the same criticism you have about higher education is probably the ones we share. But the different answer we have is we decided to fix the system from within. So we said, we're not going to just build like a parallel system. We're going to build all this new stuff. So like, we launched our LLM-based tutor in January 2023. As far as I know, it's the first university to launch a large language model-based AI tutor. We work with people that are working in their industries, in their market. So there's no just theoretical learning for us. We don't have tests, we have projects. So we don't do testing, we do projects. So it's like demo day, capstone projects. We don't do thesis. It's all like hands-on learning. So we probably believe on a lot of the things you believe as negatives of traditional higher ed. But the approach we took was, you know what, we're gonna fix it from within. We're gonna bring the AI learning, we're gonna bring the hands-on tutors, and then we're gonna do that inside. And I think one thing that's special about this year is, one, like we can talk about how we think AI agents are gonna be rolled out. I used to be a data scientist before starting this company. I remember using Google BERT, which was one of the precursors, right, to the large language models of today. Yeah.
It was so bad.
Exactly. But I was impressed at the time. So I remember using it. I used it for like de-identifying. So I was doing grad school at UC Berkeley, University of California, Berkeley at the time, doing a project with a colleague that was working at LinkedIn. And we use Google BERT to do some like de-identification. So like look at transcripts from hospitals, doctors, whatever, and then remove, patient names and such. And it was much better than the previous stuff, like what you could use before. And it was very impressive. And then like, obviously today, what we have is at least 1,000 times better. And that was just, 2018, 2019, very recent. So it's amazing. I'm so impressed with everything we're learning. I believe in this. We're doing this. It's a big part of how we see this work evolving. But the value we see in both traditional higher education, but also bringing these personalities, which is part of the thing I mentioned here. So like we bring experts, like one of our most popular degrees is evidence-based psychology degree with us, Brazilian psychologist that's got 2 million followers on Instagram. He's one of the most respected psychologists. And, if you look at what he posts, it's engaging, it's fun, it's funny, like, the dude's amazing. So that's one of our most popular programs. So we bring those experts, those personalities, and we think, and I would love to hear what's your take here, but with the growth in AI and AI swap, actually is going to grow the demand for institutions that are certifying a specific kind of content, as well as people that are certifying a specific kind of content. And that's certainly what we see with our students today, which is like, oh my God, like I could learn, there's a million different things I could learn. And and I don't know where to go, but if I come here to Sirius and I come here to the Esling, which is this guy master's program, or the Charles Cormier, if we would do something like that, MBA program, I know one that I have access to this wealth of information that the world provides today. This for the first time ever. It's amazing, like a beautiful time to be alive. But then two, I have Sirius, I have Arnobio, I have Charles telling me like, this is the track you need to be in to get to where you need to go in your career.
Right. And who's your audience? Is it mostly like CEOs and founders, or is it anyone that comes on your website sort of?
Look, we have different kinds of topics, and then each topic has a different audience. So like we have a data science and AI program. Then the students there are people that come from technical but non-software degrees. So like logistics, civil engineering. So like they have a lot of aptitude for math and thinking statistically, but they haven't learned to code yet. They haven't learned to use the new data science and AI tools. So they come to that program to get to the next level. One of our corporate clients on that program was AB InBev, and they have they're one of the largest employers in Brazil. It happens to be a global company with with Brazilian shareholders, or mostly Brazilian shareholders. And a typical student there is like a logistics coordinator at this, big conglomerate that does beer, and like they want to learn data science and AI. We have a product management program. So the typical professional that's taking that course is like, 30 years old. They're already working at a company in a product role and they want to get promoted. I mentioned briefly the psychology program. So those are usually early career psychologists needing to get up to speed and grow their private practices faster. So it's not mostly founders, no. So it's typical students like 30 years old, late 20s, early 30s. They already have a career that they're building upon, but they figured out that like to get the next promotion, to get the next salary increase, they need extra help, and they're looking for that boost to get to the next stage of their careers.
Because my thesis, well, I have various, but one is that we're corrupting children's mind when we send them in an educational system that is only about the grades. And that's not a woke statement like, oh my God, we're creating robots and all of that. It's more that we're sending them to be good employees, and the future is 100% entrepreneurship based. It'll be only freelancers managing their own armies of agents. The employee model ship will sort of fade away. So that's my first thesis. We need to start young. And also the same thesis about that is that these kids, if you have them wait 15 years of their life to get into that AI first market, they're going to be meat in the meat grinder, right? Like they're going to get wrecked. They have no chance against an AI. And last thesis on all of that is that entrepreneurs and founders are responsible for the well-being of this world. At least 80% of the well-being of this world is in the hands of entrepreneurs, right? We know that politicians are crooked and don't do anything good mostly nowadays, but entrepreneurs, they create jobs, they create products that are useful that both you and I, we use on a daily basis. Everything around us here is created by entrepreneurs. So if we favor entrepreneurship and we create that in younger generations, I think that will really have a positive scalable impact on the world. What do you think about that?
I share some of these views, but with some nuance. So number one is, do you happen to have kids, Charles?
I'm about to.
About to. Congrats.
Thanks.
Boy or
Do you
girl,
have
do you know?
some?
I have one, and then a second one on the way. She arrives the second one arrives next month.
Nice, man.
What about you? When is yours coming?
We don't know yet. We're currently
Oh,
considering. Yeah.
good. That's awesome. Okay, so first, yes, I'm like, we started Sirius as higher education. I would love to start at 3 years old. We haven't done that yet, but I'd love to get there someday. And I had a bit of a crisis of meaning a couple of years ago, and then I went through a lot of personal self-discovery, which is a whole different conversation, which I suppose we could talk about it too. But one of the conclusions of that process was, really my mission is to build today the future of my kids will live in. So that's sort of became a very intentional thing on my day to day. Like I plan each of my weeks. The first thing I do is I open up, and then right on top is that mission statement, and then after that, it's whatever results I'm trying to accomplish that week, that quarter, that year. And so I think about that super intentionally. I think you're right. So you mentioned maybe this on the beginning. So I came from economics before becoming a data scientist or a founder. So I used to work at a big multi-billion-dollar foundation think tank, working with academics and researchers and such. And when you think about why do we have firms, which is an interesting question, right? Like, why the hell do we have companies? Why did we bother? Why is it not, Johnny the baker, Arnobio the tutor that teaches people on his house how it used to be a long time ago? Why is it not that? Why do we have firms? And then the reason is transaction costs. So that's like Cose's theorem of the firm, because each time I buy from you, that's a lot of work But if we're part of the same company, like you're a designer and I'm a coder or whatever, like if I try to hire you for my projects, like it takes time, money, we got to negotiate each time, but we say like, you know what, let's do this together. So we lower the cost of each transaction, we sell together, and that's the firm basically. And then you add that up, you get the multi-billion dollar, even trillion dollar these days conglomerates we have. So you aggregate because it's costly to transact. So you put them all under the same structure, cheaper, faster, more efficient. You're absolutely right. The technology is lowering transaction costs. So it's easier to transact. Before we had to send maybe mail each other checks. Now it's instant. Then maybe now we can have joint projects with split payments. So I totally agree with you that we're gonna the size of the firms are gonna tend towards one. I'm not sure it's gonna get you one because like you think, and them saying what I agree with and what I disagree with because there's two big machineries. Like someone is gonna want to make 1 billion liters of beer because it's cheaper, faster, better, and like I don't know if it's gonna. I'm not sure it's gonna be each individual person there being an independent employee. I come from a mining state, kind of like a Brazilian Rust Belt sort of deal. And, people are still going to do big mining operations. Those machines are massive. I'm not sure, it'll be individual people. So I agree with you that the firms are going to get smaller. I don't think we're going to end up at one person firms everywhere, like, 7 billion firms worldwide. You talked about teaching kids young. I 100% agree with that. Like, I mean, you'd never teach a kid you never prepare a professional for the market without teaching them how to use a calculator or how to use a computer. And then obviously AI is just going to be part of that basic toolkit. And I agree with that. And then the sooner or the quicker, sooner we get started with kids learning that, the better. And then the other thing I think is really important that we believe in and I believe in, and perhaps is not reflected on your original statement is, I think we're going to have to protect some of the things that are uniquely human, of like what we bring to the table and the way we work. Obviously, there is a scenario, like a Terminator kind of scenario, a nightmare scenario where humans become useless, and maybe, and I don't think it's a 0% probability. I don't think it's the main probability. I mean, it could happen, but it's not what I believe in. So since I think we're going to find a role for humans and a way for us to be uniquely humans, I think we're going to have to protect that very carefully too. And when I say protect, that is, I mean, my day-to-day is the time I spend away from computer, away from AI, the time I spend, honing in my intuition, my calmness, my evenness of decision-making. And I think that'll be super important. I try to nurture that for my kid too. Yes, teach him all the amazing new technologies, but like, hey buddy, like, you're you too. And those are tools you can use and they can be great, but nurture whatever you are independently from any of these tools, including AI.
Yeah, that stillness, that clarity is super important in that sea of noise. How do you specifically nurture that on your side? What does a day to day in your life look like? What habits do you nurture?
Meditation. So like I use transcendental meditation technique. So it's like a 20-minute thing. You have a mantra. That's my main meditation guide. Yes. So like a mantra, sit by yourself, 20 minutes, easy. Like you can look those guys up, transcendental meditation. They have classes all over the world. I do a priming exercise. So it's, it's
Tony Robbins.
All the way. Yes, that's right. That's right. Yes.
Yeah. My man, Tony.
Yes, that's right. I did that. And that's really great. I do a detox once a week. So really, this is, Shabbat, detox day of the Lord. There's lots of old traditions that have something like that, of one day that you take for yourself, your family, your spirituality. That's huge for me. It's Sundays. That's sacred. If I need to work on Saturdays, that's okay. It happens. But Sundays, I really make a big effort to make it sacred. And then, there's the things I do occasionally of obviously like time with family, time with friends, other journeys, like people, ayahuasca, like different kinds of
You're in
immersions
the
or
capital of
meditative
ayahuasca.
practices. I am. Yes, that's right.
My first guest today was a friend of mine, and we discussed his latest ayahuasca retreat, Juan Betancourt. If you want to check that one on the YouTube channel. But yeah, that's a cool routine. And my wife is Christian, so like every Sunday is somewhat sacred as well. Time for reflection, but I can't tell you that I'm leaving the computer because to me, my computer time is sacred. My chat with ChatGPT and trying to search for the truth is sacred for me, and that's like a daily task. I'd like what you described. What are your goals for this year? Last but not least,
Look, I mean, I have some number one is welcoming a new kid to the family. Super excited about
it's
that.
pretty big.
It's big, yeah. So this role of dad is the most important role I have in life, and I care quite a bit about it. And so that's the biggest one by far. And look, I have business goals. I have a certain number of clients I want to have, a certain number of students, a certain revenue. I have body goals, and I mean, you mentioned Tony Robbins. I love that stuff. I love Tony Robbins' stuff. One of the things I use from him is, I don't know if you've tried it. Is like his RPM software.
Yeah,
RPM.
I
So
think you tried to upsell me on that at some point, but yeah, I heard about it.
I
I'm not
bought
using
it.
it. Okay, got you.
I really like it, and like when I use it, I'm opening it now on my computer. I separate like my roles and the categories. So like I told you the number one thing is like family, welcome a new kid. Have this happy, healthy family life. But I have a body goal, which is like weight, how much I want to weigh, how much I want to lift. I have a series, a specific goal. I have a personal money, family money kind of goal, unwinding, unplugging kind of goals. And so basically, you talked about routine earlier. Each week I open that up, I look at it. Okay, like here are my 9 roles in life, 9 categories that are important to me, and then I look at what needs to happen that week on each of them. And obviously, sometimes I lose the discipline, right? Like it's you sometimes I do a week or 2 without planning how I really want, but then reset, just like anything in life. Maybe you travel, couldn't work out, no problem. Okay, it happens. Next time you do it again, or you didn't do a didn't didn't do a deal well for whatever reason. Okay, it happens, no problem. Breathe, come back, and that's the mindset I bring to my routines and my goals too.
Love it. Where can people find out more about you, Arno?
So look, people can connect with me on LinkedIn. So it's Arnobio Morelix. You can see there on the screen. There are not many Arnobios out there, not many Morelixes either. So it could be easy to find me. If you want to learn about Sirius, you can go at sirius.education, and that's it. And that will take us to everything we're building at building a university from scratch for the AI age.
So that was Arno